You know, our buildings are getting smarter all the time. But with all that new tech, things are also getting, well, messy, super complicated. Today, we're going to look at how one company, SpinalCom, is trying to create a central brain to bring some serious order to all that chaos. Just picture a modern office building for a second. It is a non-stop data factory, right? You've got systems for heating, cooling, lighting, security, even for booking meeting rooms. We're talking thousands of data points being generated every single second. But here's the catch. Almost none of these systems speak the same language. They're all just operating in their own little worlds. And that complete lack of communication brings us right to the heart of the problem that SpinalCom was designed to fix. It's what we're calling the building data dilemma. I mean, how are you supposed to manage a building when none of its core systems can actually talk to each other? This slide just lays out the problem perfectly. Every single function is running on its own software. You've got the building management system, or GTB, handling all the physical stuff. Then you have the computerized maintenance manager, the GMAO, for tracking repairs, and then another system, the IWMS, for managing how people actually use the space. They're all completely separate digital islands, or silos. So what happens when you have all these disconnected systems? Well, it's pretty much what you'd expect. It is wildly inefficient, and it is super expensive. You get data that doesn't match up, you're paying for software you don't need, and you can't get one clear picture of what's actually happening in the building. It's like trying to run a company where none of the departments are on speaking terms. So what's the solution here? Instead of having a dozen different systems all just shouting into the dark, what if a building could have a single central intelligence? You know, a brain that could actually understand everything that's happening inside its own walls. And that idea brings us to this, the Building Operating System, or BOSS. This is the absolute core of the solution. And listen, this isn't just another fancy dashboard. A BOS is a fundamental digital layer that pulls in every single piece of data. We're talking real-time sensor data, that's your OT, or operational technology. We're talking booking system data, that's your IT. And this is crucial, it also includes the building's 3D architectural plans from BIM. It literally combines all of it into one place. This slide really shows that massive shift in thinking. On the left, you've got the old, siloed, chaotic way of doing things. And on the right, you have the SpinalCom way. Their BOS takes all that conflicting data and fuses it together to create what's called a digital twin, basically a perfect living digital copy of the physical building. This becomes the single source of truth for absolutely everyone. So how does SpinalCom actually make this happen? Well, their whole platform is built around this really powerful metaphor: a core for all the data, a wall to see it, and a cockpit to control the whole shebang. Now, this is a pretty bold claim from SpinalCom themselves, but it really gets to the core of what they're trying to do. They're not just trying to make one little thing better. They are aiming to build a totally new, all-in-one foundation for how we manage buildings. Okay, so here's how it all fits together. First, you have SpinalCore. That's the boss, the brain we've been talking about that pulls all the data together. That process creates the digital twin. And then you have SpinalWall. Think of that as the cockpit, the single interface where a building manager can see and control everything, all from one screen. And it's really important to understand this is different from other things you might see out there. This isn't just a hypervisor that slaps a simple dashboard on top of a few existing systems. Because it integrates the OT, the IT, and the BIM data from the ground up, it creates this incredibly deep, contextual understanding of the building. It's a true foundational layer, not just a coat of paint. Okay, so the technology is really impressive. But what does all this unification actually get you in the real world? What's the actual payoff for the people who own and run these buildings? Well, through that one single SpinalWall cockpit, managers can now handle a crazy range of functions. I mean, everything from watching alarms and energy use to managing maintenance tickets and figuring out how spaces are actually being used. And all of these apps are pulling from the exact same consistent pool of data. And that leads to some pretty serious cost savings. Because that common data foundation is already there, plugging a new application or a new system into the building is 20% cheaper than it would be otherwise. You're not starting over from scratch every single time. And those savings, they get even bigger over the long run. Evolving the building's digital brain, adding new features, adapting to new tech becomes 50% cheaper. So this approach doesn't just solve today's problems, it literally makes the building cheaper to upgrade for its entire life. So, this is about way more than just being efficient and saving some money right now. This is all about building a digital foundation that gets our buildings ready for the technology of tomorrow. And this right here, this is the ultimate payoff. AI and machine learning, they need clean, structured, contextual data to work. You can't just sprinkle some AI on top of a messy, broken system and hope for the best. By creating that unified digital twin, SpinalCom makes a building truly AI ready, totally prepared for things like advanced analytics and predictive operations. So when you really look at the long-term value, it's crystal clear. You're increasing the building's overall asset value. You're suddenly able to meet these really tough new smart building certifications. You can securely share data with your tenants. And because the core tech was developed independently in France, it gives clients total digital sovereignty over their own data. And that kind of leaves us with one big final question. We've seen how this works for a single building, but just imagine scaling this up. What could we actually achieve in terms of energy efficiency, city planning, our quality of life, if it wasn't just one building, but every single building in a city had its own unified, intelligent brain? Now that's a future that's worth building.